There we go. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast for local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. And I'm Tom McNellis. I'm the current chair for the committee. Welcome, everybody. Why don't we do introductions? We'll go along real quickly.
Okay, Roberta Longley.
Harriet Emerson.
Mike Cercion.
Olav Hagland.
John Boyning.
Jack Hadley.
Gary Sonical.
And
Shayna Brogan.
Shayna, and anyone else online?
No,
That's it. All right. Harriet, have you been sworn in?
No, I'm seeing an email from Linda today, so she tells me to come in and be sworn in, so I need to
All right.
follow up with her when and yes, but
Very good.
this week, I'm sure.
Excellent, excellent. So we, so I guess officially you're a guest, but you're a special guest. We have several
Thank you.
special guests here.
All
which,
right.
We always welcome and love to have participate. So I put public comments at the beginning. So if there's any, I guess we have no other public, if anyone wants to make a statement. Hearing none, we'll move on. So with that, Shane, I guess we'll turn it over to you for any administrative updates.
the only update I kind of already shared with Roberta and Tom is that I'm checking around for funding options for a climate action plan, but so far it's not been too successful. It seems like the funding source through the MVP program has kind of shifted to MVP 2.0 plan development. So we'll see. We'll keep looking around and seeing what we can find.
Shannon, may I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I wonder, you mentioned that they're shifting towards the MVP 2.0. And
Mhm.
the idea is that towns that have plans, MVP plans, municipal vulnerability preparedness plans, can apply to the state for assistance to implement some of those aspects in the plan. Is that my understanding?
Yes, you can apply for an MVP action grant if you have an MVP plan that was completed, which we do from 2019. So we could use whatever those action items are in that plan to apply for an action grant to implement whatever the recommendation might be.
Sounds like something worthwhile investigating if there's money to help the town.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the plan. I think a lot of it had to do with storms, electricity outages, shelters. There was low-lying roads, which we did look into and get funding for. But yeah, I think checking out some of those other recommendations would be worthwhile.
Do you know if those actions are frozen in time or can they be updated? You said, yeah, the
They would I think they would sort of go through the MVP 2.0. It's not like the strategic plan where it can be continuously updated by the town. If the town wants to take some of those recommendations and put them into a different plan, you could certainly do that.
Do you know how that is reviewed by the town in terms of seeing whether actions are actually being implemented? Is there a process for reviewing that plan on a regular basis?
No, yeah, that MVP plan, no, that was done kind of, it sort of was completed right, I think at the end of 2019 before COVID, and yeah, it's not really, there's no real mechanism to review all the plans and go through all of them other than the strategic planning process.
So nobody owns it?
Well, it was done through the planning department, but it involved pretty much a lot, I would say all department heads were involved in that when we had the preliminary meeting to kind of gather information. There were community members that also came, but from what I remember, it was like police, fire, health, COA, just any department that would be involved in any emergency in any capacity.
Okay, so it's emergency based primarily, not necessarily.
Yeah, it's more so like,
Response.
yeah, storm preparedness, that, emergency response, those types of things, things that would happen because of a storm, and different ways that we can be more resilient to the storms.
Good, thank you, Shana.
Sure.
Could you, pass around the, impacts of the name tents? Put that in the middle. All right, the next item on the agenda is new member appointments, and we have two members who have been appointed by the select board, and Eleni, do you know have you been sworn in yet?
I have.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, congratulations.
Yes.
And Harriet is almost ready
To be
and,
sworn in,
ready to go, yeah.
yes,
It's a very laborious process.
But-
Came today to do it.
But have you
They
done
have
your,
good chocolate. They have good chocolate.
oh my goodness.
Yes.
done your conflict of interest?
Yes, yes,
Have you
training.
done your public,
Maybe give me some tips, some do's and don'ts for,
Let's introduce our new members. We're so excited to have you both join us. Start with Eleni, who is background in social work and healthcare, and you had started a climate health group, which is really cool. So you're going to.
Sure, you want me to-
Yeah.
Live here? Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Eleni Carr. My pronouns are they, them. This could be me right here.
All right.
Thank you.
We're right at top.
Um,
That's too.
And I'm delighted to be here. I work at Cambridge Health Alliance in Cambridge, but I'm a remote worker. I oversee care management services at Cambridge Health Alliance. And as part of my work there, it started as a small brown bag group of people interested in climate change, which we later reframed as climate health so that we could actually get some momentum in the community. And it's actually now quite a large modicum of people who are out there advocating for changes in the healthcare system. The healthcare system is responsible for about 8% of greenhouse gases amongst everything, so it's a big contributor. I'm very interested in what I can contribute here, bringing sort of a people lens to it, reaching out to people. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist per se. I'm a people person, I'm a leader, and I hope that some of the skills that I can bring will be useful to us here.
sure, they will be.
very, very exciting.
Welcome. And Harriet has backgrounds in gerontology and city planning, which is really exciting. Both of those areas really key for some of what we do. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So Harriet Emerson and my husband and I recently moved here to Eastham last year, although we've almost owned our home for 2 years now. So I have extensive experience, as Tom said, in communication. So I've worked with federal, regional, and local planning agencies, doing transportation planning, land use planning, urban design. So a broad spectrum, a broad array of different kinds of planning activities and topics and what have you. I've also worked in the private sector and done business development, strategic planning and that type of thing. And as I said in my interview, the climate change in our planet and the overall environmental health of our planet and our community is something that's very important to me. So something to make a contribution in some way. As with Eleni, I'm not a scientist, I'm a liberal arts major, but hopefully still able to contribute in some way. So very happy to be here.
So welcome.
Well, it's called the Medici effect. It's a committee made up of lots of orthogonal backgrounds.
Good point. Good point. What I thought we might do really quickly, because one of the things I'm gonna ask you both to think about is the different goals that we're working on. And everyone kind of has different pieces that they're working on within the goals. Roberta had guided us to a great set of goals for this is the second year now of goals for the committee, things that folks are working on. So why don't we just go around really quickly and talk about what what you're working on and where you might need help in the areas that you're working. So, Roberta, you wanna start?
Yes, I will. Yes, we came up.
And
with
give your
this-
name also, because,
Sure.
yeah, so
I
we
think
associate
it's
names and
all-
faces, yeah.
Great, great. Okay, so going back to our goals that we had pulled together for ourselves for 2024. I guess the person, if we're talking personally, I think the two things that I have been focusing on was one, the piece on moving the town forward with net zero building. We'll call that just as an overall concept. And one of those was to see if the town would adopt the specialized energy code. That was a big important goal the first part of this year, and we were fortunate enough to get that passed. So I'm feeling good about that particular goal. The second half of that was to try to develop some more interaction on a regional basis with some of the lower and lower Cape towns to work in developing outreach to the public on the subject of homes and how we can make them more energy efficient, more electrified, more renewable, and so on. And we did have a small program this spring that it was an interesting exercise to try to engage Harwich and Orleans and Eastham with the Cape Light Compact. And we learned a few things. I won't say that it was tremendously attended, but it was a start. And so I think as we go into our new year, we want to figure out how we can kind of build that educational piece. And then the other piece, as far as I'm concerned, is I've been working closely with Tom on our movement towards getting a formal climate action plan for Eastham. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on the agenda. So those have been my two personal aspects. If that's how we are answering that question.
Perfect. Mike, you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, my focus has
Mike,
primarily
yeah.
been,
And Mike, introduce
oh,
yourself.
Mike Sarsi.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry for Lenny. Harriet came in. So my focus is primarily on solar, I think, and electrification of transportation. Trying to, I had a little hand in the workshop and the solar clinics that we did in October, and then this most recent one in June. Again, trying to make sure folks recognize what they can do with their own property, even if they can't put solar on or afford solar themselves. There are other avenues and ways to do that. Also trying to work with Rich Bienvenu, who's our assistant town manager, I guess, and finance guru, and getting more solar for the town itself to help offset our electrification needs, as well as would like to get a local community solar project going. So far, though, that's been difficult because, right now, because environmental justice is something I believe in a lot, making sure that folks who can't afford it, and the ones who unfortunately suffer the most because of climate change, the ones that could use renewable energy and the offsets and so forth more than anybody else. So that's kind of where my focus has been. And then more recently, I've tried to, given my disappointment with the rate of change and that people are doing, I'm trying now to take a new tact and just convey my experiences on what we've been able to do as a family in terms of what things cost, how we save money, how we drive for free, how we power for free, ultimately because our original investments now have been returned because of all the savings we have because we made that investment. And make sure folks recognize that they can drive a car for free, they can power their home for free, and they don't have to pay for heat or pay for electricity or cooling if they made the investment. So anyway, so I'm trying to convey my experiences in a positive light, recognizing that people are reluctant to make change because I think they're a little afraid and they don't consider climate change as an urgency. So, to me, I treat it like a cancer. It's, we can't treat it like the brakes on a car where it just goes a little at a time and eventually it just fails. It's, we got to treat it more seriously. But I don't know how to get people to do that, so I'm trying to share my experiences and our successes, and that's where my focus is from. And I also support, represent the town for CVEC, which is the Cape Vision Electric Cooperative, which does all the large municipal projects, but not all, but many of the large municipal projects, Cape-wide. In solar and wind.
So he is our Eastham representative. Every town has a representative. CVEC. Yeah, he's recently.
Okay.
our Representative. Thank you, Mike.
Olaf Hegland. I work in the space. I work remotely like you do. And I'm very interested in the types of solutions available today. There's a project called Project Drawdown, which is a very good, kind of rank ordered list of things that we could do today if we, put our heads together. It's rank ordered in the sense that, where can you make the biggest impact? And there's a lot of things that the town has already done. For instance, I was in a subcommittee with a recycling committee where we worked on getting, food composting, at least pickup set up at the transfer station. Food waste is a huge contributor to methane emissions. And so there is, it's almost like people didn't think it had anything to do with climate to do composting, because people thought of composting as, hey, I get to, generate my own soil with net nutrients and things like that, but it has a huge impact there. In my professional life, I'm very interested in refrigerants, HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons used in all of the air conditioners, heat pumps, and, in the US installed today. Those are thousands of times more potent gases than CO2 in and of itself. So I'm working on that. I share Mike's concern. I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are very nerdy when it comes to energy installing stuff. But that's a small subset of who we need to have access to these things. So to try to figure out how to get people involved here, low income and things like that, that is what we need to do to be able to get a meaningful impact. And so I'm very interested in working through kind of how do we get the information, how do people get access to the information and the resources and everything that's available, so that we can kind of promote, help people kind of make informed decisions about what they can do themselves. I've also done some of the stuff. I'm working through my house right now on various initiatives, including heat pumps. I just installed that last year, and looking at solar and hot water heaters and things like that. So that's my journey so far.
Thanks a lot.
John Boyney, like both of you, I've kind of got a less hard science background in social behavioral science and degree in political science with a focus on public opinion. So I'm really interested in how people think and work through the challenges that we're addressing side of things. So I worked for 15 years for a systems engineering firm, so I picked up a few engineering skills along the way. So I've tried to apply both of those kind of skill sets to a few different commitments on behalf of the committee. One is the solar working group that Tom has been leading, and I'm now spearheading that. Did the workshop that Mike alluded to in October, and the clinic we're in June. We got some follow-on efforts for the clinics and materials we want to get out to people to follow up on. It's a very good event. Thanks, Adjournment to Mike. So solar is one key thing. I supported the Specialized Energy Code initiative as well. I'm working with Roberta to get that taken care of. And then most recently, well, for the last 100 months, I've been working on the survey. So starting with, conceiving what the survey could be and figuring out what the questions are going to be, and then getting it out there, getting it designed, advocating, promoting it, everything, doing the analysis. Jack and I in particular have been working hand in glove on that. Olaf has also been contributing along the way. So that's been, my primary focus recently.
So can we say Jack and John as well as John? Jack and John as well as Jack and John? Yeah, isn't Jack and John interchangeable for many people?
I'm not a John, no.
No, okay. All right, so John is the man with the jack, but not the inverse.
Okay, all right, no, sorry, John. So anyway, those are my pieces of.
A lot of work there. A lot of work there.
So, my name's Jack Hadley. I'm a volunteer to the committee, and my background is in economics. And I was saying to Tom when I came in, I started my professional career as a research assistant, and I feel like I've come full circle. Research assistant again. So I've been helping out with the solar working group, with John on the survey. I worked with Roberta on the specialized energy code earlier this year. And I'm just, sort of happy to be another pair of hands at the keyboard and kind of muck around on the internet, find things and help with writing up fact sheets or newsletters, whatever.
And we appreciate your help.
Yes.
Oh, my
yes.
Lifesaver.
I'm Gary. I am also a volunteer for the Climate Action Committee. I'm a recently former member of the Recycling Committee, where I have been for 4 years, and my personal commitment there was to work on plastic pollution and reducing plastic pollution. I think most of you know that only 10% or less of plastic that we produce is recycled. The remainder of it goes into landfill, or it is incinerated, or it emits all sorts of greenhouse gases, and including methane, bad things for in our environment. So it intersects well with input at points with the Climate Action Committee, and I thought I'd be a good fit, and they haven't kicked me out yet. Whatever Tom tells me to do, I do.
Your last name is?
Senecal, SENECA.
See, we're very incentivized and motivated group of folks. Thomas Nellis says that I'm working both to support Roberta with the Climate Action Plan. And well, we're kind of co-doing that working group, yeah, and supporting John and the solar working group. We have several working groups, as you've heard, that are they're sub-quorum groups. And so, as you know, with open meeting law, now that you've probably been through all that training, we cannot have deliberations outside of a public meeting. And a deliberation happens when we're a group of, a quorum group that talks business, that our committee business. So we have several working groups, which you're welcome to, be on any of those working groups. We have a number of different goals and objectives that we'll look for the year. So we'll talk about that more offline.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very good. And we're very excited and happy to have our volunteers with us. Speaking of which, do we have a recycling liaison at this point? Do you know? You were the recycling committee liaison.
I will continue to be that.
Okay, excellent.
In written form. I'll put a report together for each meeting.
Excellent.
As to what the activities are. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much.
So I thought that was a good way to handle it.
That's perfect.
So Tom, just to summarize, is there a list of the different working groups? I know we've heard them referenced in our discussion, but is there a list of the working groups and who's the leader or point contact person on the working group?
Now that you mention it, no. And it's probably a good idea.
Maybe I'm not like it,
Yeah,
maybe it's
yeah.
less formal than, but
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Right now, I think we just have the two main working groups, right? Although, Mike, you were starting a transportation group,
Yeah, yes, I was.
or you can be, or might be, or.
I should be doing more, but I haven't been. I've been working on the solar
Right.
and
Yeah.
a little bit of transportation. I've been kicked in the behind on the transportation stuff. When all the stuff I'm trying to get going. I tried to get a working group going that was outer Cape wide, so not just Eastham. So I solicited help from folks in Orleans, Wellfleet, Truro, and P-Town. And I got some interest, but unfortunately, again, it doesn't seem to be high in people's lists. As you can see from our results from our survey, electric transportation, electric vehicles isn't high on people's minds right now. And, we have to figure out how to change that. And that was one of my motivations, is to try to generate some interest there. But I was trying to get the whole lowest hanging fruit first, which was solar, which is something that is more mature, people think more about. And I think it's the less of a life change than an electric vehicle. By adding solar, or at least being able to subscribe to community solar at your residence. So some people, I guess, so I call them Republicans.
It seems to me, though, that solar would be in some ways a prerequisite for the, purchasing of an electric vehicle. You want to be able to, you don't have to
Yeah,
have solar. It feels like,
we've
That's a
talked
good
about that,
first
and
step.
actually some folks made, there was a good question at the solar clinic that we had, where someone says, so should I invest in a heat pump first? Or should I invest in solar first? And the real answer is it depends. What your greenhouse gas footprint is. How much are you using? Are you burning oil now, or are you burning natural gas? Are you using forced hot water, and what's the efficiency? How old is your system? So, there's a whole bunch of questions we have to ask to say, well, okay, here's the first investment you should make. All right, I mean, in our case, it was solar. That was our first investment, but that's not necessarily the right thing for everybody. And if you look at, by the way, our contribution to pollution, transportation's our number one. So the one that's getting the least attention right now is the number one polluter, Cape Wide. Unfortunately.
Oh, sorry, and is anticipated doing a workshop on electric vehicles?
Yeah, that's our plan, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
All right.
we would
Any
definitely like to do
timeframe
that.
Or just,
Well, we were talking about this fall potentially,
oh, okay, all right.
but we have to get through our follow-up on some of the folks at the clinic that wanted one-on-one help. Because I want to make sure that those folks get
Sure.
addressed first, because I've been also helping folks one-on-one outside the committee to get them through the process. So once they get there, I help them getting their bids. Once they get their bids, I will collaborate with them. I don't make their decisions, but I just say, okay, here's the things you need to consider. You make the decision, but here's your options. So I've been doing that one-on-one with several folks on people who are full-time here, and also people who have part-time residences here. So
very generous.
Okay, so I think if you'd like to know what we're doing, maybe you can give Harriet and Laney the link to the shared drive.
Yes.
Send that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I made some notes, get you lists of the working groups, the goals and the things on the shared drive, so I can do that.
Thank
So
you.
with that, what I want to do is keep moving on, because we do have a good,
Yep.
strong agenda today. Turn over to Roberta on
Right.
the strategic plan.
Sure. I'm not sure, but pretty much everyone knows that Town of Eastham is revising its strategic plan. I guess they do that every 4 years. The one they're working on now is 2025 to 29. And over the past year, our committee has interacted with the town, particularly through Paul Lag, who's the head of, who drives that, the staff person who drives the strategic plan. And the strategic planning committee. At our meeting in June, we were fortunate to have both Paul Lag, the town planner, and Hope Clavin from the strategic planning committee come to our meeting and show us language that they were proposing, draft language that they were proposing relating to climate action, new climate action for the revised plan. And the proposal was that this action would go under goal number, the goal they're calling a clean environment and resilient community. So that's where climate would reside, a clean environment and resilient community. It was really just up on the screen, so it was, I think you finally got a copy. You did?
Yes, yes.
Right. So Tom and I sent them several suggestions to the initial draft. They were minor suggestions, but one was, it seemed like climate adaptation had not been included. Climate mitigation was included, but not climate adaptation. So we suggested that definitely needed to be one of the objectives. And also some tighter language about what needs to be accomplished in developing and adopting a climate action plan. So we had a good follow-up meeting, Tom and I, with Paul Lag and Hope and Shayna on July 30th. And we discussed that and agreed upon all of those things. And Hope sent over another shot at draft language. And that's what you're looking at here. As you can see right now, It's under the goal, clean environment, resilient community. There are two objectives. One is adaptation. So far, the action steps haven't been drawn up. And the second one is objective 8, which very much addresses reduction of greenhouse gases. Could you bring it up just a little bit?
What's a trough target?
Down, yeah, that way, yeah.
Okay.
So the effort is to make a SMART goal out of this. And that 50% reduction in greenhouse gas levels by 2030 are very much part of the state's plan, and many towns are adopting that as their objective. So right now, that's what we've got. And so as you can see, there are 4 action steps. One relates to the climate action plan and what needs to be done to make that a reality. The second one, and the third one, and the fourth one aren't associated with the plan itself. But my understanding is the idea is, even outside of a plan, the town wants to be addressing this over the next 4 years. Number 2 is relating to municipal actions, municipal buildings and projected developments, and in ensuring that the buildings are zero carbon emissions, focusing on energy efficiency, renewable energy, electrification. So that would be definitely an important strategy. The second one, I'm sorry, number 3, that is, and number 4, they kind of both work together. It's really about public education and helping residents understand how they can include these technologies into their personal and business lives. So we just want to be sure that even though we are, the big action step is the plan, that there's also these important aspects that will be worked on for the next 4 years.
Right.
So what is the baseline for the 50%? Is that the
1990.
current inventory?
1990 is the baseline.
1990?
Is that aligned with the state?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's not explicitly listed there.
It isn't, no, it
Okay.
isn't.
So
But that's a good
1990.
point, and maybe that should be.
All right. Now, my other question
Although it
is,
does reference I think it does references the state plan, yeah, the CE.
It does,
CP.
right, but I mean, if you were just reading it, you would think.
Yeah, that's good, that's a good
and
question.
then, and then given number 2 is now 2034, how is it relevant?
Number 2.
Well, the town just announced that Tea Time and Town Center is 10 years out now. So
Well.
How is it gonna
it's
apply?
relating to planning, whatever transpires over the next 4 years, the town is going to be,
okay,
yeah,
I mean,
and.
I don't think we're gonna be releasing an RFP before 2030.
Okay, well,
I'm
anyway,
just my comments.
all right, can you go on to the second page? So, that was a very good meeting. And, Hope actually just said what you just saw over on Friday, so I'm just reporting out. There's gonna be some more discussion on this. What Tom said over on Friday afternoon is essentially this. Tightening up a little bit the language relating to how the climate action plan will proceed. Okay. And I added incorporate that staffing into the final climate action plan. This is all still very drafty, but we thought it was important to share this with you and have any other comments, suggestions?
In the climate action plan to be developed by this committee,
No,
or this is a separate climate action plan.
right, well, it's complicated. I can tell you, if I can defer that question.
Oh, of
just
course, of
yeah,
course, of
right.
course.
And I will address it.
Okay,
So Mike, I just want to make sure that I got your comments. One was that the 1990
Yeah, so what is it we're measuring?
guidelines should be.
Is our
Right,
greenhouse gas emissions
Right,
in 1990, that's our baseline? Or is it the total footprint?
Yeah.
Which includes carbon sequestration or sinking or what? What is it? That's what I'm saying. Is it greenhouse gas emissions only, or does it include what we sink as well?
As I recall,
We scroll up.
it includes what we sink, correct? Right, which we don't have a measurement in our greenhouse gas inventory in that, they didn't include that.
Okay,
So we'll have
so-
to figure out how we deal with
So if
that.
it does include sinking, does it include the national seashore, which is technically not part of
it
these?
does not.
Okay, it does not include, but it doesn't include that as a sink. It doesn't include any of the bay as a sink. It's only to the mean high tide, mean tide watermark or,
Good, what's the recommendation?
well, that's what I'm asking. You know, what does it include?
I think we gotta figure that out.
You know, do we take advantage that we have a bay and an ocean and that is a sink?
Or a marsh.
You know,
for that
and
matter.
well, of course, the marshes,
Yeah.
hopefully it includes the marshes.
So I think, Roberta, what I was seeing was in boundary emissions and sinks.
I just want to know what the reference
And
is.
as far as I'm concerned, in boundary would include that, but I don't think that's really been broached yet.
Okay,
As to how we actually do that
what is considered in boundary?
within our.
10 nautical miles,
Within our town.
within the town boundary, which is no ocean or bay at all.
I think it goes 10 miles.
As I'm saying, so within the 10-mile limit, okay. I mean, that's a
But
big
this
thing.
is all the discussion that has to
Yeah, all
happen.
right.
We're just setting high level goals.
That's right.
A relatively minor thing, things that are underlined here, what are those?
Those are Tom's suggestions to Hope's new draft. What you saw earlier was Hope's draft that she sent over on Friday. And he, that afternoon, sent over this, what you see underlined is his suggestions to just to tighten it up.
Got it. Okay.
We have not yet heard back from the town.
And one other question, does it include or not include the vehicles that transit into or through town? In terms of the footprint? Those
With
folks
that-
that are transversing
Well,
through our
let me-
town,
Let me try a different tack. Would that
Okay.
change the language?
no, I'm just trying to know what
So
the,
we
again,
don't
what the
know.
baseline is.
We don't know.
I'm trying to-
That's what we all have to.
In order to have, we have to have a baseline that's measurable. You can't claim 50% if you don't know where you started.
We're
in the
flowing
definition.
down the state
Okay.
goals, right? So we all need to figure that out.
Okay.
In the next
All right.
couple of
Got
months.
it.
Yeah.
As we proceed, so it's really good questions,
All
I
right.
agree,
Right.
but we don't know that yet.
And it does, it definitely has to be part of a plan.
Okay.
Yes.
And my understanding is, again, in boundary includes those cars moving to town.
And the refuse to remove, is that counted in our town or where it goes?
Included in our town.
Okay, so what we,
We're gonna go through the
Okay.
inventory, hopefully next month, and we'll get into some of that
definitions,
nitty
guys,
gritty.
you know?
Yeah, at this point, we're setting the high level goals float down from the state. We gotta figure out what it means to us.
Right. Anyway, that's where, oh, sorry.
So two questions. One is the 50% reduction, that's municipal or is this residential and like, what are we actually talking
Everything.
about?
Everything is
Everything.
boundary.
Okay, and then we talk about the sinks of the marsh and the bay and
Forests.
everything. Those sinks have been activated all along. These are not, there's no new initiatives to make the marshes, absorb more carbon, right?
But the water temperature's changed. All right, so their impact is different. All right, so in 1990, the average bay and ocean water temperatures were X and Y degrees. In 2050, they're gonna be, or 2030, they're gonna be potentially, 4 or 5 degrees higher on average. So, how does that impact their sinking ability? And so,
Okay.
so again, I'm a science guy, so.
Yeah, interesting.
So I think just to be clear, it seems to me that, the actionable reduction, and we are including the sinks, but really that 50. The sinks are natural, they're happening without any effort, right? So the effort is not really gonna be a 50% effort. It's gonna be less because we already have a passive way of managing some of the carbon sequestration. Is that right?
Yeah, but the sources are obviously, there's a misbalance right now between source and sink. And what we can effectively make sure is that we preserve the sink
Right.
Okay.
and address the
Exactly.
misbalance on the source side.
Or acknowledge how the sink may have changed.
Right,
And
exactly.
will continue to change. And again, these are all goals because
Yeah.
everything's changing.
Yep.
All
All the time. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
Right.
The important thing is to have some goals.
Yes, absolutely.
And communicate them.
Yes.
actually.
Mhm.
Now, a good example of what Olaf was saying is that there was a debate 2-3 years ago, not that long ago, about dredging the Nauset Marsh. And that could, I would think, have a potentially large impact on the marsh ability to absorb greenhouse gases. So there's an example of where there is public policy that can impact that.
not.
Or on the spit, on the Eastham side of the spit, there's no overland transportation allowed, whereas in Orleans, there is, for instance, you know.
Hmm.
Just as an example.
Yeah.
So is salt,
If you cross over from Coast Guard to
Yeah.
the spit,
Yeah.
there's no traffic,
and
there's
that's.
no,
and
there's no
that's-
vehicles.
That's not National Seashore Land, that's town of Eastham?
I think Eastham has certainly made or
So
negotiated that there's no
out.
overland, you know, vehicle traffic on their beaches, you know.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know when that
Okay.
policy went into effect, but I do know that it exists.
And
Okay.
how relevant would you say that is?
Well, it just has to do with the fact that there's no transportation, right? There's nobody coming in, you know, sort of driving into I mean, it's a small portion, you know, and again, I think we are a little bit in the weeds, based on where we are with these goals, but I think the overarching goals are to look at those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
So this is where we stand. It's still in limbo, but the important thing is that we as your representatives will continue to work with the town and make sure that you are all plugged in with the final language strategic.
Although, would you say we're making progress?
Absolutely. I would say so.
So, yeah, maybe not quite limbo, but we're.
Right,
It's not
exactly. It's just a matter
solidified.
of emails back and forth.
Good.
Yeah, that's what.
So I guess we should find out too what a sewage treatment plant's footprint is. If we're gonna add a sewage
That's
treatment plant, you know,
a
what does
really
that
good
add
point.
to our footprint?
Forgot about that, yeah.
So it seems like a list, I think this is what you're going back, here are all the included list of contributors, you're looking at, you know, what was included in the 1990 base.
It's gonna require more power.
Then you have to, I guess, to be consistent, you have to, what was counted in 1990, the contributors, the origins, and then you count
What's,
there could be other things that be counted, but if you really want to measure a reduction, then you kind of have to say.
You have to have a baseline.
consistent. Yeah,
just like in the
Yeah.
medical field, you need a baseline.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, what were the sources, point, or other that were included in 1990, so.
The other thing we want to make you aware of is that Shayna, Tom and I have had continuing conversations with the Cape Cod Commission, namely Steve Tupper and Michelle White, who is the climate action staff person there, and just want to report that we do have the final greenhouse gas inventory that has been received. And we continue to pursue the possibility of the commission possibly having some resources to help us developing the climate action plan. I think that in talking with some staff members, Shayna, Paul, and so on and so forth, we're seeing it as a fairly large enterprise that we probably, because of the size of the town, really could use a consultant to help develop this. So that's the tack we're going right now, in seeing that the commission might have some ideas, money, opportunities. Anyway, we continue to pursue that. And just thinking through and answering your question of the climate action plan. Generally, plans include a lot of material. First, it's a greenhouse gas emissions inventory. We have that already, which is fantastic. So it's done. We have a climate action survey, which is often part of a climate action plan where you interact with the public on how they see climate. We've done that. We also have adopted, it will be obvious soon that the climate action plan is integrated into the strategic plan for Eastham. So that is a hugely important piece. Some of the things that we probably will need help from a consultant is to guide us the strategic selection of the sectors that will represent what the plan will be working on. For example, renewables, buildings, natural resources, those sectors help guide the town with that. Engage with the town staff and advisory groups to develop proposed action steps for that. And also perform some kind of technical evaluation on the projected greenhouse gas emissions that can be reduced as a result of this. This is very typical of a climate action plan that we've looked at. And so clearly that's some expertise, also assistance with perhaps documents and graphics and creating a draft for the community to review. And then possibly, we don't know what level that would be, but some interaction with the community on that draft and feedback. So it's a pretty large thing that we're thinking about. And so that's, I'm thinking right now is that we really want to try to move towards seeing if there's some money somewhere to.
And this is, what's the plan to be built by the committee or by the Paul and?
Well, it's a combination of.
Okay,
town
so,
staff.
okay, all right, so it's, there's
Committee.
one, okay, the collaborative
Yes,
with, okay, all
absolutely.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the
okay,
public,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, all right.
Questions for Roberta or questions on the climate action plan or the strategic plan?
How will this be decided on? Are we gonna have to approve it here at some meeting in the future?
So
Or,
as I recall, Roberta, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul had mentioned that he was thinking the climate committee should vote on the final language, but the language, as Roberta said, is not, doesn't have his feedback into it yet. I think the strategic planning committee is meeting this week, so we may see some updates from them from that meeting. So that would push this into potentially into our next meeting in September to vote on it. And I believe somewhere around then they're planning on going out. I don't have my notes here with me, going out for public comment.
I think on September 4th.
Is this?
I think it's
okay.
September, and then they probably get comment, and then they guess
Yeah.
they would go back and revise based on comment, and then some iterate, one or two
The whole,
more iterations possible.
the whole strategic plan.
I believe it's on September 4th, I believe.
That's 3 weeks.
So we can always call an interim meeting if we need to, if they're looking for us to vote on that. Otherwise, we'll cover it in the September meeting. And also note that the greenhouse gas inventory is on the Google Share Drive for the climate action. That is accessible. That's something also, Kara, than Eleni, I'll give you that link, what else, so you
Okay.
have all that. Okay. Very good, thank you, Roberta, that's really exciting stuff coming forward there. All right, next up we have Mike for the Windmill weekend.
Okay, so yeah, I have.
Let me know what you want me to show on
It's up to, I mean, up to you, but I sent you the 3 files. The one is, most important one is the one that I'm attributing to the whole committee. So that's the one that you should pay most attention to. The other 2 I'm asking for is, I'm happy to entertain feedback as well, but I'd like to be able to hand out these 3 items at the Windmill weekend for folks who may be interested in taking them. So, yeah, I'm not gonna shove them in people's faces, but, you know, if people stop by and they wanna engage discussion, say, hey, think about this, or
So is this the
that's the one committee-wide, yes.
and I think everyone has a copy of this,
together.
I sent that out at the meeting. Yeah.
So, yeah, so again, as I said earlier, I'm not trying to twist people's arms anymore. I've kind of given up on the twisting arms and said, okay, how can I show people in a positive light some examples of where folks have made change that were really successful, and actually also saving them money as well. So that's why I put this trifold together. And the trifold just came about, and I thought it was something easy for people to hand out and read. So I printed out some physical copies. So yeah, you would first see that on the first page, then you would open it up, and
Goes to the
second
over
page
here.
on the
Yeah.
inside. Right?
yeah,
So you would see, well, what are our contributors and why do we care? All right. And then, okay, so if you look on the first page, I talked about the 4 pillars of efficiency. You know, insulation, solar, heat pumps, and then battery EVs. Those are the ones that do the most in terms of, if, you know, helping your change for the better. So I start with each one here. So saving energy and increasing efficiency, what can you do? For renewable energy via solar, what can you do? What do you think you need to consider? And primarily, I think one of the things that we've got the feedback from folks at the survey is not a lot of folks understand the financial payback and why the investment is worth it.
I heard that at the clinic.
right, at the clinic, right? So. That was my motivation for the other two showing people, and then on the back, as you'll see eventually, is, well, there are people that are saving a lot of money who made the investment. And the equivalent rate of return is around 15% when you look at the details, at least in our case, it was.
Mike, on the leftmost column.
Yep.
And below the, sort of halfway down, there's a bullet that reads Cape Cod Commission Greenhouse Gas.
Right.
What is this, the sort of meaning of that in the context of that rest of that column? Because the head of the column says you're a greenhouse gas contributor.
Correct, and passenger car transportation and power generation and home heating are the two major contributors
And this.
of all of our greenhouse gas contributors.
But is the inventory the source for those?
Okay, so
numbers?
Yes.
I see what the confusion is,
Yes.
is that this is what that source has said about, the
Okay,
impact of
that's-
passenger cars and.
Yeah,
Yes, maybe I should indent.
yeah, because the
Yeah,
stats
that's
are
the-
bigger and they're bolder and they.
Hopefully you
trying to
didn't
get-
print
I was
out
trying to get the
hundreds of
point.
those
I'm trying to
already.
get the point across. Look at that, well, I could also. So,
Say that it indicates pasture, so that it's clear, because you're right, I didn't get that either.
Yeah,
Just
I
for
wouldn't
a
actually
space,
get
I
that
think.
at all. I wouldn't get that at all.
Yeah,
so. I can bold Cape Cod Commission statements and then indent underneath. And I think it'll still fit.
Or you could also put the Cape Cod Commission as sort of a reference in parentheses underneath the two statistics, right?
Sure, you do that too. move to a reference.
Source colon Cape Cod Commission, greenhouse gas inventory.
Spell out.
Okay. That's easy. Thank you.
So, save energy. use efficiency.
So Mike,
Yes,
do you think I could get some help on the graphics?
I don't know, it's a move.
Well, I don't know, but there's not consistency in the indentations. It's very home run looking.
Yeah,
To me.
it certainly is.
Yeah.
It's where it was done.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer, I'm not a graphic artist. Tell me how you want it re-engineered. I'm open to suggestions to make it more readable.
Yeah.
But I want to get it done so we can hand it off to get it printed, and get it out to folks, but again, we don't have to hand anything out. We can just sit there with our hands on Windmill weekend and just engage in conversation with folks. I was trying to come up with some handouts.
Is this committee the only sort of hurdle you need to get over to get this approved to distribute at Windmill weekend?
Well, I
Does anybody else have to
assume,
approve
yeah,
this?
I don't think there's any other committee I have to go to.
I think what we'll do
Kevin doesn't
is
have
collect, I think there's 4 documents that are recommended for the weekend.
Yeah, John's got one.
Right,
Jack.
right, and then we can kind of decide today, the committee can decide if we want to recommend all those, and we'll go through a request with Shayna to have those printed.
I wanted to bring up another document we have, a brochure. Last year, the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative paid to have these brochures. Most of you have seen these.
Yes.
I've got an entire box.
That's the box.
Yes. So if that's something we want to hand out, in addition,
I
we
have a
have
copy of
tons
this.
of
I do
it.
too.
Mike, can I see one of those? trifolds?
So,
Well, they're all 3 different ones.
so let me ask the question, is everyone, well, this is the first document. I would suggest in the interest of time, if you want to give specific suggestions to Mike, do that offline.
Yeah,
don't copy all, right?
Then tell me where and when we have to give it to, so we get it printed in time.
Right,
before-
right. So let's, this is the first one. I think the second one, Mike.
Yeah, the
was,
second 2 are my personal ones,
which
my personal experiences, I just wanted to
investing in
share with
solar.
folks. And the history behind it, it was meant to be a little comical as well.
I'm gonna go to the second page,
Yeah, go to the
which I guess is
second page.
really the beginning
Yeah.
of the tripod.
Right, so in the beginning it was food. All right, and that's really why I got solar energy, to be honest with you. Is that we were losing too much food. We had a big garden, we were prepping a lot of stuff, freezing it, not, also had canners too, but we mostly froze a lot of stuff that you couldn't usually can, like, can't eggplant parmesan, or you can't slice and lentil soup very well, and green bean. Anyway, so really the reason I got solar originally because I was sick of losing power from all the storms that we were getting at the time. So I bought solar, and I invested in solar primarily to save the food. All right, and at the time I started researching it. I said, well, geez, wouldn't it be neat to not only have solar, and I said, but solar's not gonna work if the power goes out. So I'm not gonna invest money to put stuff on my roof if I can't use it when the power goes out, because I'm trying to obviously keep us having electricity when the power goes down. So then I said, okay, generator or battery. When I looked at the battery, I says, why do I want to invest in a generator? Because first of all, I had just done a whole bunch of landscaping. I had no place to put a generator other than outside somebody's bedroom window, which you couldn't do anyway, and it had to be, so I says, well, let's look at a solar battery. I can put it in the house and doesn't make any noise. I don't have to worry about maintaining it. It doesn't burn fossil fuels. So that's what I did. I invested $40,000 out of my pocket in 2018. And this year, 2024, it's paid off.
Okay,
So now going forward,
So, yeah,
it's equivalent of saving $6,000 a year.
so this is the second, right? Then the third, I think, is the EV.
Yes, that was number two. Then the last one
And
is
y'all have
live.
copies of this.
So,
So I think the big question, let's assume that, the comments in terms of, formatting and content and whatnot can be worked out separately, because we just don't have the time to fully edit it here on, in real time. What does the committee think about these three handouts in terms of, providing them at Windmill Weekend and asking the town to make copies?
I feel that the first one that we looked at has a lot of useful information with some formatting changes, and perhaps that piece on the Cape Cod Commission greenhouse gas inventory, which has changed maybe some of the language on that. The other two, Mike, I think they're really fun to read, and I think a lot of amazing enthusiasm and knowledge on this. But I do find it very personal.
yeah, that was
And
my
I do
point,
not-
trying to make it personal.
Right, and I guess my question is whether it is appropriate for the town of Eastham and to have the town of Eastham, Massachusetts on here and associating necessarily
Understood.
the Climate Action Committee. If you wanted to hand something like this out with your personal by Mike.
No, but I wouldn't do that.
Donate, that would be fine,
I wouldn't do that.
right, but,
Not at the Climate
yeah.
Action Committee table, I wouldn't do it.
okay, that's just my opinion, if everyone else has any thoughts on it.
I don't know if I'm official yet, because I haven't.
But
sworn in,
certainly, we
but
value your opinion.
I agree that the other two seem very personal and anecdotal. And, maybe just personal and anecdotal and something I wouldn't expect to come from a town sponsor sanction committee. I think certainly, Mike, if you would hand these out, as your own personal
I won't do
estimate. Oh, okay, all right.
Again, I was trying to act as,
Yeah.
as a proactive member of the committee,
Uh-huh.
trying to share my experiences with folks. But you're right, I'm using Climate Action Committee as a venue. And if you guys aren't in agreement with that, they go away. And it would be the same for a workshop. If I would not present any of this stuff at a workshop without you guys',
Well, putting the
I'll
workshop
keep it to
aside for
myself.
the moment, any other thoughts? Questions?
I mean, I think if we could take the first of the three that you presented and get that really in good shape, that would be a lot right there. That would be significant. Each thing into that, there's a lot of information. So I think the time that we have, and there isn't a lot of time to do that editing, so I would focus on that only for that reason.
Guess I would also add, and I did read this on, and I got it in the packet. I think the most important thing for people to take away from this is that, like, what are the two big takeaway messages, right? It's easier to take action than you think. right? And we can offer some help. And I don't exactly know how we offer help. You said something earlier, you know, you help people one-on-one and you give some guidance and
We offer them-
considerations out there. I think that's tremendous. I didn't know that. If I wasn't sitting here, I wouldn't know that. And I'd be very interested to get some guidance in my own home about when we might do whatever changes we
available.
might consider. Okay.
I've helped at least a half dozen town residents.
So I think that, you know, if we work on getting it in good shape, that should be the ultimate takeaway. It's easier to get some of this done than you think. And we can help you. And then, you know, that's not all you're gonna say in the thing, but that needs to be the punchline, I think.
I think there's also a lot of good, you know, it may need to be updated as far as the rebate and what have you, but just knowing you can call and get a free assessment. Them installing a heat pump or a mini split, the state offers a $10,000 rebate. So those are good sort of resources. that
I
people may not be aware
started
of.
with that.
Okay.
All right, that trifold is how I started.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I was concerned that it wasn't personal enough. That's why I tried to include on the back of this, folks that have actually made changes and what they've done. And how much it's, and why it saved them, because that doesn't tell you anything. That handout doesn't tell you anything about how much you can save. So the back of the first one is actual people that gave me permission to use their names and experiences.
Yeah. What I've done with that is I actually just asked for a one-line quote from from a couple or someone who's actually done it. What did you do and how much did you save? You know, I put solar in 2018, put all these things in, it's all paid for.
Well, that's what it
Yeah,
says. That's what it says.
are they quotes?
Well, they're based on what people have told me, yes. So my experience, Tom and his wife Yasmin's experience, Marion, who's the one of the people I helped get her system in place. And Tom and I helped, and then folks that actually leased their solar, Alan, Carmel, Alfano. So yeah, they all gave me permission to use
Right.
their stuff.
I think there may be also some interesting opportunities, and like you mentioned, maybe a workshop type opportunity where we can have people come in and talk about their personal experience. I think it'd be very interesting and effective as, you know, the type of lighthearted treatment that you're doing on this. Might be really effective live and in person.
And there may be, and I think would be helpful to have different experiences presented, you know, at the same time, because I think one of the drawbacks of having a personal story, which I think is, it makes it more accessible, is that people may not, you know, associate, like, I'm not in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe somebody else has an experience, oh, that I resonate more with that kind of scenario, and so, and that's where the one-on-one conversations come in. You know?
But the opportunity for that would be in other workshops.
Workshops, or it could be somebody coming, you know, I mean. Someone coming to our table at Windmill weekend and say, hey, I got this problem, I'm really interested, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, I'm really interested, I don't even know where to begin. Interested in electrifying, you know, solar and all that stuff, but. So the question is like.
Put up a Lucy sign.
No, but I mean, like, you know, I think that you can refer people to materials online.
Yeah.
I still think that a lot of people will have a tough time kind of translating that into their own situation.
No, I understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
It's just that, you know, I'm trying to set an example.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm too forceful in my examples. And, you know, maybe people, you know, can't or won't make the change. I just want to show them what I did and why I drive for free now and I don't pay for heating and cooling.
Right.
It's paid off.
Yeah, yeah.
In 6 years, it was done.
Yeah.
So it's free to drive and it's free to heat, free to cool.
So I think the sense of the community or the committee from what I'm hearing is this good, you know, excitement over the first trifold.
Yeah.
And maybe we hold the other two for
Done.
a workshop type of setting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree.
Okay. Other plans for Windmill weekend?
No, I mean,
Well,
I
staffing.
just pinged them again, they're supposed to get back to me, they never get back to me.
Well,
So it's hard to know, we're gonna have an area, but I have no idea where the area is. I'm assuming we need to bring a table and a tent like we usually do, right, and some chairs. So Tom, hopefully you were able to donate your canopy again. And,
well, why don't we go, can you go through with us the things that are needed and we'll.
as far as I know,
Yeah,
we just needed a table, a couple of chairs, and we gotta staff it. So, you know, looking for volunteers for the time on that Saturday. Of the, is it the 9th?
How many do we need for each? How do you want to split it up in terms of?
I just like 2 people there all the time if possible, so only, 2-hour slots, and we're there for what, 10 to 4?
Remember.
I don't think.
Good question.
I mean, they have not been, since I sent the email out that I was taking over for Cheryl, all right, they've given me nothing.
Huh, anyone
So
remember?
other
what it
than,
was?
yeah, we're trying to give certain areas to the committee. We told we didn't want to be in the center this year. We wanted to be on the perimeter. We still wanted to be next to Cape Lake Compact, preferably. And if some of the other town committees if possible, but-
And
and I've heard nothing back, so.
can you draft something up for us, Mike, in terms of what you need, and we'll get that out to the committee so people can sign up for slots.
Sure.
Sign up
Yeah, I can do
for
that.
providing. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess last year you had a table you brought, correct?
No, last year I didn't do anything because I was just getting over COVID. And so I spent
Oh, no, I think they set the table up, didn't they? I think they did.
I thought the year before, we had the table and the chairs and the tent.
But I think it's.
But last year, I don't know who set it up
Now,
because I wasn't involved.
Can you check with Cheryl? Let's reach out to Cheryl.
I asked
see what
her.
we-
Yeah, I asked her what we needed to bring. And like I said, it's been crickets,
From Cheryl.
tree frogs, crickets. Oh, from Cheryl?
Cheryl, yeah,
Oh,
Cheryl. Cheryl will
okay.
be able to tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, that may be the way to go. I know sometimes the Windmill Weekend Committee has been so overwhelmed with trying to get the, I think trying to get the paid tents up and running. That, that the information has been slower. So we'll need staffing, couple in the morning, couple in the afternoon kind of thing, like. Do we have anyone who's able to staff for the morning? I know I can come for the morning.
What date are we talking about?
What day is that, Mike?
I think
It's Saturday,
it's the 9th, I think.
September.
Seven.
No, it's gonna be the
7.
7th, correct.
I can do 7th and 8th,
And is it 10 to 4? Is that typically what it is?
sort of was last year.
Okay, so
10 to
we
4.
typically try to do 2-hour windows for folks, so.
I'm pretty sure I would be available. I may confer with my husband.
Okay,
but
well,
I
I'll
don't
send
think
out
we
an
have any
email to
plans for
everybody
that
and just
Saturday.
tell me what time you can sign up for.
Fortunately, I'm involved in the Swim for Life. Which is out in Provincetown, so it's
Oh,
a
wow.
charity swim.
Yeah.
Wife actually swims it. Like paddle in it. Go out. Strong swim that way.
You guys do that every year?
We've been doing it for about 8 or 9 years.
You can sign me up for the morning. We had a couple other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'd prefer morning. I think it would be
For the morning, so we got 3 for the morning, Mike. How about afternoon? Anyone help
Well,
me?
just
I can
send
help.
me an email as to when you're available and then
Okay.
we'll go
But
from there.
you sent out an email to
Yeah.
us.
I will.
Yeah, that, I think that's a good idea. And I think you need the banner.
Yeah, do you still have the banner?
I believe I have a banner.
Okay.
But remind us of what we need, so we make sure we, have it all
I'm sending
together.
a note to Cheryl as we speak.
Okay. The climate change collaborative trifold, we have enough, you're saying, Roberta, that we can hand out.
Yeah.
Is the incentive information up to date? You mentioned maybe
I
there was
think I have
concern there.
Oh, I don't know.
You have
I was
Magnus?
just
I think so.
looking like the center, like where it says bigger deal. That qualify for a new $4,000 federal tax credit. I don't know if that's still. If that information is current. And if the state offers a $10,000 rebate, just wherever
This
it
was
gets.
published about, October and November of last year.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
all right, that's my, it may be perfectly fine, but
Probably.
just, yeah.
I don't.
The,
It's a good, simple handout for people, at least it kind of sets in their mind, oh, I could be doing some of these things.
Okay.
Nothing-
I think that
Yeah,
the one thing that I don't know if that's reflected there, but is the requirement of your oil or gas system being, you know, sort of discontinued as opposed to being a backup situation. I don't know if that's, you know, for the
Oh, I don't know
incentive
if
for
that's-
CLC.
I didn't think they
Correct.
went into that detail.
No, it
Yeah,
never did.
okay.
Yeah,
No.
so I think we're okay on that.
Yeah.
Okay, is everyone okay with the 5Cs handout?
I think this is good.
Questions, issues? Okay. Okay, so I think the action, Mike, is you're gonna send out an email with what you
Yep, yep.
need and again, just be cognizant of open meeting law. Don't reply
Yep,
all.
just don't reply all.
Reply back to Mike.
John, our non-committee members allowed to help out at the table? Yeah,
Well, talk to Mike.
I can help out.
Absolutely.
Mike will,
I can help out.
yeah. Excellent.
And maybe just, some of this seems to maybe assume that when it's a homeowner or can go out by an EV, maybe just you turn up your thermostat and by turning, depending on the time of year, you can save X amount of,
Yeah.
you know, what have you, save money, driving a little slowly. So things that really anyone can.
You can also enroll in Cape Light Compact rush hours and it'll automatically set your thermostat up and down for you.
Oh, okay,
And they'll give you money for the season for doing that.
okay.
So I don't see that anywhere.
All right, so with that, why don't we, unless there's any other questions or concerns, move on to the next topic, which is John and the climate survey.
And there's actually some connection back to Windmill Weekend. 'Cause I
Right.
do have the one page handout, and actually we may as well talk about that right now.
Do you want to bring that up?
Sure, actually. I'm gonna
And
try to
we're
project
gonna
it.
speak about the parade.
I'm not
So
gonna-
again, no one said anything to me about the parade.
I'm not gonna- If you want me to project out.
Yes. Or I can project
Let
it.
me see,
I don't, Stephanie's not here.
I didn't.
Quite chilly in this building.
That's for other people.
Great Brady Bunch thing we got going.
like,
Dun, dun, dun.
one other thing, one,
Put it in my folder on my office.
like. Generally at Windmill Weekend, we try to ask people if they're interested in hearing from us on stuff. So I can send you over, maybe we could use.
So a sign up
Yeah.
list for their contact info if they're interested in providing it.
Point.
Okay.
Find you. Now, if you can send that to me again, it'll pop up at the top of my email.
Okay, sure.
For whatever reason, I'm not.
Are we 7 official members of this committee?
Yes.
Yes. While we're getting this ready, one of the things I was gonna mention at the end is what I would like to do is kind of adopt a mailing to everyone of a meeting packet. So that you all have stuff, especially when we're reviewing lots of things. So I want to respect everyone's time, both at the meeting and not surprising folks. I think a 1 week goal would be good for that. I mean, there'll always be exceptions to that where, you know, everyone is working very hard and putting things together. Sometimes we have last minute updates. But what I'll ask is for the future, why don't we aim to have things that we want the committee to review, especially if there's something to vote on or agree on, to send that out about a week ahead to me, and I'll get it.
Okay.
Did you? John,
Yeah, I
find
sent
that?
it. Should be.
Oh, okay.
So while that's coming up, I can give you just a quick background. So, the request was made to come up with a summary of where things stand with in regards to the survey, a summary that could be distributed at Windmill weekend. The, full report will be coming together sometime after Windmill weekend. So we decided we wanted to pull together something that would share some of the highlights and some of the sort of the key messaging that we see coming out of our analysis so far of the survey. And we've wrestled with how much detail to go into. We started off with 3 pages and we went down to a single page, which is where we're at right now. And the structure is fairly straightforward. We provided a little bit of detail on what the survey was, how many people were involved in participating as respondents. And then hitting some sort of basic highlights as to what the word is, or let's say the story that's coming out of the survey, which is, and there are several steps to that, that there's pretty clear indication from residents that action is needed. And it's not just action is needed in a general sense, but significant work now by individuals as well as by the community. And we share, the results from one of the questions in the survey and support that. And there has been some progress in our community, in people taking steps to, in particular, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But our observation coming out of the data is that there's a lot left to do, and there's considerable opportunity, is how we want to frame it to people. And there's opportunity for providing more guidance to people and help. Because one of the things that we heard repeatedly, I think, through the survey is that people still don't feel like they have enough information when it comes to making decisions about things like solar panels or heat pumps or electric vehicles or what have you. And to the extent that they think they have information, their perceptions about the costs associated with those things doesn't necessarily square with what is available to them sources. So we want to make this general point that, yeah, there's some indication that people are making an effort, but there's a big gap yet to close, and additional guidance and assistance is needed. And then shifting kind of from an individual perspective to community level action, we had a couple of big questions on what the community could do, and we wanted to share a little bit from that. And so we make the point here that community level action according to our respondents, could take multiple forms. There were a lot of things that people indicated they could support, but a relative few kind of rose to the top. And if we can scroll up a little bit, you can see that we excerpted one of the charts here. The second one, a little farther up, right there. It's good, Tom. This chart that's showing here is taken from the chart that has 11 different programs on it that we asked people to react to. So we just took off the top 3 that people cited most often to illustrate this general point that people are open to a variety of approaches, but there are a few that seem to kind of rise to the top. So this is a way of giving folks a little bit of flavor of what came out of the survey before we, in the final section of this one pager, remind people of the connection between the survey and the climate action plan. We talk in general terms about the status of the plan and the timing for it, and then the same thing for the survey itself, that there will be a full report coming in not too distant future, and that they should stay tuned. So it's a little bit of a teaser on what has been happening and reminding people that there's more to come. So the proposal on the table is to have this available at the table for Windmill weekend. This is a handout.
So that's a 1 page.
Right now it's 1 page, but we have questions.
I have a minority report.
All right.
From our team, which is, I think, not to mince words, I think this is totally inadequate. You know, to have a survey with 30 questions and say, we put just these two things on, and this is just a subset of that question. And all the other descriptions are really very vague. Many residents are making changes. Well, how many and what kinds of changes? Some of it's inaccurate, but that's beside the point. And what kind of policies are they not supporting, I think is relevant as well. So I don't have anything to put up, but this was a mock-up of, this was 3 pages, but if we're gonna do 3 pages, I would make it 4 pages. And, you know, sort of break these 2 charts out separately so they look like this and are more legible. And this is the chart with the 11 policies, and I will put it on a whole page. And then finish up on the back. And if we're gonna have, you know, a handout, I think a 2-pager is minimally different from a 1-pager, and I think this has a lot more information in it. So let me pass it around. You can take a quick look at it. And you know, I think Mike made the comment that people just won't read it, or throw it away. Well, I think all of these things are.
No, I think that was my,
That wasn't your comment? Okay, maybe
That
it
was my
was
comment.
right. Well, I think all of these things are throwaways, and at least that one has some information on it that I think is both accurate and a second thought I had, which is kind of parallel to this, is we had told people who responded to the survey that we would send them some information. And I think this would be a nice document to send out early in September to the people who responded, just to kind of keep them in the loop. And it would be basically at no extra cost. So my proposal, I guess I would advocate or put on the table, doing a 4-pager rather than a 1-pager.
So I'll just throw in from a procedural kind of standpoint, whatever we provide, I think I want to make sure the committee has had a full chance to dig into it and really look and understand what we have. I certainly don't disagree with you that we need to provide more information to the town. I think the question to the committee at this point is, are we ready to do that with the weekend? Especially since we have to make that request to the town now to do the duplication. So I'll just throw that out to the committee for discussion.
And copying.
The copying requests we need to make now, yes. They've asked that we give that once a month, give them plenty of time to work that, especially I think leading up to a big event like.
The issue is copying. I would run off 50 copies and bring them. So, you know, I think that's trivial.
I don't know that today we have enough time and effort to really look at what it is you come up with in order to move copying and having that out on the street in 3 weeks. That's my feeling. And my guess is that ultimately, whatever we give the public, it's probably not going to be a whole lot longer than this anyway. So maybe we need to consider whether we're ready for prime time.
It will be a full report. And this is kind of the preview. Okay, I'll show.
Well, I guess the question maybe is it worth doing a teaser? I think everyone is agreeing that we need to do something more detailed. There's no doubt there that 1-pager is not adequate totally. Is it worth it as a teaser? Perhaps the question.
That's kind of where my head is at, that it's an appropriate time to remind people that there was a survey and we haven't forgotten about people's contribution to participating in it, and to provide some sort of an update on where it stands. But it seems like going much further into summarizing the findings in a detailed way should wait until we have the full report under our belts, which is why I'm more comfortable with, as broad as it may be, with a 1-page version of a summary that both, just as I say, reminds people what the survey was and gives them some sense of what's coming out of it. There are inaccuracies that clearly those need to be corrected, but that's.
So who's doing the full report? You said the full report. Who's waiting for the full report?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is sort of a launch into the full report, if you will. We started off with an outline, we have an outline of what the report is going to consist of. And we started sort of putting meat on those bones, and we sort of took the time out to write this summary to distribute it from the weekend. And so we started off with pretty relatively detailed, 3 to 4 pages in length. And we got guidance that to do a 1 page instead, and that's what we meant. But it's come together in the last couple of days, so that's why it's.
And I think some of the discussion, if I could summarize amongst the working group, right, was that and also my opinion that the folks at Women Weekend are kind of bouncing back and forth from place to place, looking for discussions, sometimes looking for interesting stuff to grab, sometimes. Are they, I don't know, do we think that they're really digging into a more serious report at that point in time? That was my concern. And whoops, in addition to not wanting to send something out, the full committee doesn't feel comfortable yet with, because we haven't dived into it yet.
Wanted to do a 1 page, you could do a front and back. With,
Right.
you know, the top 3 or 4 takeaways.
We have that, we have a version like that out.
I mean, I would say that the second table, this one is it would be nice to see all the options there. I agree with Jack on that there is you know, and those are sort of like community related, sort of like, I don't have to do anything type thing, but I hope that the town is willing to support or promote some of those things. It's sort of like saying, and I'm not sure if that's you know, if it's consistent with the top one, which basically says it's overwhelming that people, you know, see climate as a real threat, and that we need to take action. So that's just my point, because I mean, I don't know if we can fit something like this in there.
Not a 1 page.
Yeah.
No, but 2 sides of the
Yeah,
page.
it doesn't have to be.
So I mean, I think the question to the committee. Effectively. Question of, do we want this level of detail? At this time. Distributed a Windmill Weekend. Or do we want something that is broader? And that is the 1 page it is. That's really the question, because this can be. Put in a couple of pages conceivably.
Absolutely,
it's not-
a couple pages.
What's that?
You're not gonna, that's,
Not all of it.
no, I mean, you can't get that into 4 pages as it is. It's, the font's too small for folks to read, and so you're gonna have to make it bigger as it is
Okay. So,
for most of our population. At least that was Cheryl's feedback, I always remember.
Good point.
Cheryl always
Public
said,
fonts,
you gotta have
yeah.
a minimum of 12 font and everything.
yeah, so that does seem to be really the question. Is this the level that we want at this stage, given where the survey is at and what we're trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish with Windmill Weekend?
And propose something else.
Yes.
You get the keep it simple, stupid version, you got one more detail.
So is the survey then, it feeds into the climate action plan?
Yes.
Print out a simple one, print out the more detailed one, let folks decide what they want.
Well, I think before we do a detailed
Yeah,
one,
but
Yeah, we.
remember, all this is gonna go through Jackie as well, she's gonna review this.
Yep.
And I think we need to know that we stand before, you know, behind it, so are we getting the cart before the horse, perhaps? And this is not to say that, I mean, I know you two have been working really, really hard, and I think it deserves a really important and good rollout, no doubt. Is Windmill Weekend the right time to do that, or are we getting the cart before the horse?
Well, when did the survey close?
June.
June.
June. Here we are in September, we haven't given any feedback.
Is this a little bit?
Well, I think all this goes for her to look at, and I think we definitely want to report to Jackie before we give any conclusions to the public.
We want, if we put a teaser out there, like a single page back and front and back. And we actually had a mailing list. We're gonna, a more full report is gonna come out interested people can put their email and we will make sure that they get it.
On top of the ones that took the survey. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
the
were
ones that
gonna-
took the survey,
Right.
what did East Ham say?
We work together.
That's
If
it.
you took the survey, you're all set, but if you haven't taken, but if you want to know more. And you didn't take the survey, then give us your contact information.
And some version of the survey is gonna be made publicly available, send everybody a link. Yeah.
Right, right. And we probably want to do a library presentation as well.
So,
But as Roberta said, we did commit to showing this to Jackie and the select board. Ahead of time as well.
Showing
So
this,
the survey.
Yeah,
So-
any results of
yeah,
anything
yeah.
for a survey, there's been
Right.
no conversation.
Right.
Let me say, if it closed in June and it's, you know, when we do surveys at work. It takes a longer time to compile the information, synthesize it, figure out exactly how you can frame it.
Yes.
I don't think this is like a long period of time, you know,
Right.
2 months.
no, it's an event that's sort of convenient. The timing of the event is the time of the event, and we're just.
Yeah.
We would like to do something.
So let me just say then that I think, given that we have not rolled out details yet. We can't do much more than something simple as a teaser, right? If we don't have approvals yet to do that. So the question, let's change the question then to the first part of that, which is it worth doing the teaser?
Right.
What do we think? I think either way, we definitely want to collect emails. We'll have a sign up sheet. We'll talk a little bit about, person to person that, hey, if you want more info, including climate, survey details.
so my biggest concern, I'm not shy, is that we get this table at Windmill weekends. We get 2 people sitting there, and what are we doing? We have nothing to convey. We got this, and we're gonna have this. That's it.
Not so much, because I understand you did the survey and you're gonna do statistical analysis, what have you, but maybe there could be an opportunity for something interactive. Where you have maybe, I don't know, a board or something, and you have sticky dots, and what's your work people could do, what are your, what are you, people could write, and they had this at the Eastham Library. What are your biggest concerns and fears about climate change, or how do you think it will affect Eastham? And then the people would just walk up and with a Sharpie and.
We talked about that.
Yeah, just more interactive in some way, and that's
Agreed.
What could be used as a
not fully
Right.
formed, but.
And Mike, that was one of the items that you're gonna.
Yeah, we don't have access to a whiteboard that we can set up, and I just don't know how the logistics to do that.
Can you check, perhaps we can borrow one from the library or from the COA?
Or a flip chart, it doesn't have to be.
Or a flip chart, yeah.
Flip chart or
Yeah.
some big poster things that people can write on, and some easels and.
Looking for some help.
Tell us what you need.
Can we get some, one of the things at the library, they were giving away like, koozies and little, lights, that you plug in.
We have swag, they're gonna be next to us.
Yeah.
It's a cake like
See,
love
see,
bag.
Next to us, with
Right.
all of their.
All of that, yeah.
Well, presuming,
It's gonna be
So-
koozies.
if
You
the next
actually have a lot of material, you still have the food, the car.
I don't have,
The
Uh,
magnetized.
so-
yeah,
And it's been 2 years we've done this, and it's been very successful in having personal conversations with you. It's the one-on-one.
So
I think people will
Yeah.
come over to the Climate Action Committee table and they will have questions. They will be, hey, if it's true that people need more information and education and they happen to be there, I think they'll come with questions. How do I get involved? What do I need? And then you can talk from my experience was I started with solar and went this way.
but last year, what I do is I set out a bunch of stuff. About electric vehicles, and I tried to get them to engage based upon what I had out there. If I've got nothing out there for them to engage with,
Right.
That's the question.
we got multiple meetings going on at the same time.
So there's, Roberta has a good, I'm sorry, Shayna.
Yeah, so I think those are all good ideas. I can check around town hall to see if we may have an easel and one of those big, flip charts of paper. We may have one around town hall. There may even be one in that, in the Earl Mountain room, that maybe you could borrow. And then, we don't have a budget to buy anything, but that's something for next year to figure out and talk about. But as far as the survey goes, I do think it's a little, I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't have much time and the committee is not gonna be meeting again until, you know, right around or just after Windmill weekend. But it's probably, in my opinion, a little bit too soon to put the information out there because I think the committee was going to go to the select board for a presentation, ideally sometime in the September timeframe with the survey results and greenhouse gas inventory and all of that. So once all that information is sort of presented to the select board at their meeting, and you get their feedback, and then, you know, I think that after that would be a good time to roll it out in various different forms, whether it's simplified, more in depth, and all of the results and, you know, more condensed results and that sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. I think those are very good recommendations.
And if needed, I will help as far as the different kinds of materials for the interactive session, and make it just be a 6-foot long table and you have a roll of, you know, white paper and you just, you know, people can just write. So it can be pretty darn simple. Just different ways to make interactive.
Plenty of room at the table, we don't have much to hand out, so.
Well, Mike, I think we need your ideas, right? I think
Yeah, I think
as you grab,
I'm happy.
my interpretation of you grabbing the Windmill committee oversight was to, you know, give us a list of stuff, right? We had stuff last year we could pull out again. We've done a lot of that, the EV fact sheet and the solar fact sheet. Can we use that material?
I'm afraid it's might be out of date.
The data.
So, yeah,
So if you need help, why don't,
that's why I was doing these.
can you put your thoughts together for us? And then if we need, I'm happy to help you. Let's brainstorm. Maybe we get someone else to brainstorm. Maybe we get Cheryl in the loop and let's talk about how we, you know, get to some of this.
Well, like Harriet's idea, putting the sheet on the table. We got
Yeah,
a
whatever.
big sheet, I don't know, you're gonna have to have people like standing over the table to see it, that's, you know, potentially a concern, but,
People can see what
Okay.
other people have written and
yeah,
something, so.
Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
like that.
Yeah. So can you?
Tape it to the table.
Can you give us, put your thoughts together and, because we don't have another meeting,
Okay.
so we need to, like, next week. Get a couple folks together and let's drive it out and get it done. And I'm sensing on the survey teaser, I
Done.
I
No,
don't think there was,
No feedback.
yeah, we're not ready for that. Okay, so we've got, I think we have one double-sided. Right, I think we agreed on that, which was the overview.
Pamphlet,
Trifold, right?
trifold.
There were 2 handouts last year. Do we want to redo those?
Mike, I would just say, get someone to proof this,
what's that?
get someone to proof this, that's all. The small things, you know, like the formatting just makes it.
Who?
You got this far.
I mean,
Could Harriet or.
Yeah.
Annie-
I'm happy to take a look at it and see what I can do.
I asked everybody for feedback on formatting,
What program was that made in?
just PowerPoint.
Maybe Canva or something.
Does anyone have it?
Yeah, PowerPoint.
Yeah, I think.
You want to take a peek at that? That'd be
We'll have to
awesome.
give you-
Thank you.
No one has a brochure.
I'll have to give you the PowerPoint file.
graphic.
Cause this is,
It's
I sent the PDF.
Yeah,
So I think the action then, I'm Shayna, thank you very much for offering the easel. You're gonna check on that for us.
great.
And then, Elena, you'll take a look at the PowerPoint.
yeah.
And Mike, you're gonna put together a list of things. We gave you a bunch of stuff today that, you know, some ideas. I think the
Yep.
committee had some good brainstorming here.
Updating another email.
And then we'll give us a date, either later this week, maybe Thursday or Friday. We can get together.
How many people typically attend Windmill weekend?
Quite a few. I don't know, do we have a count of how many copies we made last year? So maybe that's another question for Cheryl. How many copies do we make of the handouts? because I need to get this, I guess, Shayna, what's the process now for getting the request to you? And then I guess ultimately submit it into, to get reproduced.
I would say if you, what day is Windmill weekend? 7th. Sometime like that week prior, like, I mean, ideally probably the week before, like the 28th, 29th, 30th of August would be ideal, with the holiday weekend and everything,
Okay,
if that works.
okay, thank you. And I'm assuming we're gonna want 50 copies or something in that ballpark of each.
We printed more, would we use them at the library, things like that?
We can always make more later if we need, yeah, absolutely.
Well, all I'm saying is, if we, you don't think we'll go through 50 during the Windmill weekend? No,
I think so.
okay.
Okay,
Do you have a version of that?
I was just looking at,
Oh, that's like, this is the one that we're gonna use.
all right, why don't we move on to the next topic then? Mike and I met with Rich Bienvenu. And we talked about solar, and then got invited to a meeting with Rivermore Energy on EV charging. So, Mike, do you want to give a quick synopsis,
Yeah,
update the committee on that?
We met with a representative from a company that Rich has dealt with in the past. John,
Yeah, Travati from Rivermore.
yes, thank you. We're talking about swapping out the chargers here at the town hall. We considered the town hall chargers, the library chargers, and other potential locations for putting in fast chargers. Versus the level 2 chargers, which are out here now, which are only 6.5 kilowatts, or something like that, which is basically a destination charger. So unless you're spending, like at the library, if you want to spend a few hours there, level 2 is meaningful. At the town hall, unless you're spending a few hours here, level 2 doesn't really do you much. So we're thinking about a place to put in fast chargers. There's an opportunity with the Department of Transportation in Massachusetts that's trying to get stuff out because they're behind relative to other states in the country deploying fast chargers. And so DOT is anxious to get going on some stuff. So Rich was going to provide John with a letter saying why the town is interested and what the location opportunities were. And then John was going to, through his company, it's one of the awardees from the DOT to install these chargers and coordinate that, put together a proposal for the town to put in or replace these with fast chargers. Yeah. I suggested a few other things they should do too, but because my concern is that if this becomes a true fast charger location, it's not a safe place to have chargers, unfortunately, because if you're leaving Cape and you want to charge, taking a left into here is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, so I recommended, since the DOT is championing this, then maybe we should talk to DOT about moving the stupid light, reconfiguring that intersection so it's safer. So all they have to do is move the light over to before the parking entrance, so
Well,
people
that-
stop before the parking entrance.
And he
And leave
indicated
that
that's-
open.
that's
But
up to
but it's not clear that
potentially
that's gonna happen as part of this, since right now,
Yeah,
they
right.
wanna focus on the charges. But hopefully, long term, that would certainly make it safer until we have a few accidents with people trying to get charged.
The charges would be here on the town hall property.
Yeah, right now we have 4 heads. And we'd like to replace those 4 with high power.
Yep.
Right, level, what's called level 3, which is usually 150 kilowatts. or more.
Was there ever a question about whether it was possible to put those fast chargers somewhere else besides town hall?
Yes, we looked at the library, we looked at town center, and we looked at tea time. And
Where is the most practical for drivers? The safest and most successful.
right here, because we have a light, unfortunately.
Well, but also.
Because the
state-
construction,
The state is prioritizing destinations,
right,
so tea time is not a destination yet.
right, there's
So
nothing
they're
there.
willing to put money in to put four high-speed chargers in an area where people.
Right.
Where it would benefit the community economically as
Yeah.
well, where there's things to do. There's, the windmill, there's the library, there's the,
Super ed. across the
Super ed,
street,
yeah.
right.
that it couldn't be off Route 1, 6 somewhere. Like, look, the library is off Route 6. You find another.
Yeah, but you don't need a
Six.
fast charger at the library. Cause people don't, you have people
Route 6 is a-
charging at the library that are spending time there.
Yeah, and if people are leaving Cape, that, that's not a practical way. I wonder about,
So we
You
talked
can't
about town
simplify-
center, we talked about town center, because right now, you've got the ice cream store, you got the Thai place, you got the restaurant, you got Friendly Fisherman, you got the Cumbies, and then if we ever get into construction to redo that, people could still walk safely across the street to where Sam's is and that area there. But, you gotta deal with now potential construction at some point. Now, we didn't know that 2034 was gonna be probably now when things happen. So at the time we talked about this, but there is plenty of room at town center, which makes sense. But again, people gotta turn left to get into it, so they have to go to the light to turn left. Or a lot of people, of course, will try to take a left before the light to try to get into it as well, so.
Well, more to come,
Yeah.
and the street update is in the
But
works,
DOT,
but will likely not be.
right,
And,
and you'd have to wire that infrastructure, right? This is already wired for the most part, so there'd be minimal Eversource work to be done here versus at town center or other places. So,
Yeah, this is a very quick opportunity
Right.
that pops
try to
up
take advantage
because
of
the
the,
state
right,
has been behind in rolling out federal funds for EV charging in the state. And so they have suddenly prioritized quick, almost shovel ready, for, small installations for charger.
Yeah, minimum four.
installations.
minimum
Yeah,
for. Is
so
this the
it's
NEVI money?
NEVI, yeah,
Right,
it's
okay,
NEVI.
so the other opportunities are fast chargers, right, which may not be NEVI based for some of the other locations we talked about. Right, but those will be a little bit more involved.
So more to come on this.
Yeah.
One of the things that we had hoped to get rich was the strategic plan wording, but that's not finalized. And there's a possibility, and I tried to catch Rich today, but he was not, he had already left. As to whether it would benefit at all from having us give a letter of support to Rivermore and to, to the town, a recommendation to do the chargers. So more to come on that.
Exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal moving forward on that. So yeah, thanks, Mike. Good stuff. All right, next on the agenda is the minutes. You all have copies of 2 minutes, 2 minutes from 2 meetings. So the last full climate action committee meeting, and then that interim meeting where we did the survey review. So, yeah, we need a motion to, any questions on the minutes?
Yeah, any questions?
They're excellent.
Do we have a
Motion to approve.
second, which one, both of them?
We can do them together. Yeah. So
Okay.
we have a motion,
Second.
motion and
The
second.
minutes
All approved?
from
Say
both
aye.
meetings.
I,
Any objections? Minutes approved, thank you. And other business, we're gonna try to wrap things up for just a couple of minutes here, so we're not gonna go into a lot of detail on things, but I have just a couple quick items just to remind people of. The Eastham Main Street Initiative is happening August 26th, the 30th. So that is Cape Light Compact and Rise Engineering going through town and talking to business owners and encouraging them and offering them on the spot energy efficiency audits and incentives. So that is happening. If you know of anyone in the business community, you could certainly mention that to them. There's been a lot of publicity that went out to that. The One Cape Conference is coming up September 18th and 19th. It's costs a deal of money.
That one was delayed?
I'm
Is
sorry?
that the one that was delayed?
No, this is the one
Oh.
sponsored by the commission. And Shayna, are you going to that meeting?
No, I haven't heard about it, for this year.
I can
I'm
that-
not registered at this point.
Yeah, let me send that to you. Does
the town normally sends a couple folks to that, correct?
Yes, yeah, usually 2 or 3 will go.
Okay. Is there any opportunity to get funds for another climate committee member to go?
I don't know, but it's something along with Windmill Weekend and this conference to make note of for requests for next year too.
Okay, yes, yeah, agreed. Okay, as you all have heard, we're doing a COE presentation, and thanks to Harriet, on the 12th of September. Provided to give it, Paul Lag did the presentation just last week,
He did.
I thought it worked out very well. So what I'll do, at our September meeting, in fact, I'll send some material out. Based on some of the good stuff that Roberta's done in the past, and for comment. And then we'll talk about that at our September meeting. Meeting dates we need to talk about, but before we hit that, is there any other items that anyone wants to bring up? There are 2 dates coming up that actually we need to make a decision on what day, because they fall on holidays. So the September meeting will be on the 9th. That'll be our next meeting. So that's after Windmill Weekend, but it is before the COA presentation, so we'll talk about that. The October 2nd Monday is Columbus Day. Town will be closed. And then the November 2nd Monday is, I believe, President's Day.
Veterans Day.
Veterans
Veterans
Day, and the town will be closed, the town hall will be closed. So I was gonna suggest as an option, perhaps we do Monday, the 7th of October. And Monday, the 4th of November, but we could do, if that's a problem for folks, we could shift that around. Any issues offhand with that?
I don't think I'm here for either of those.
October 7th is gonna be a problem for me.
The 7th is a problem?
October 7th.
Well, want to try for the 21st in October?
That's
Yeah,
that works for me.
meeting,
Okay.
and then November
And then November 4th.
4th.
Well, do we want
I
to
can't-
move
Well-
it? If we're doing the 21st,
Yeah.
that's only 2 weeks later,
Okay,
maybe we
November
do the
18th.
The 18th.
18th.
Okay.
Okay. I will request those meeting rooms, which is why I wanted to double check with everybody. But if you all look at your calendars and find that there's, if we have some significant conflicts, we can always make the adjustments. All right. Yeah, we could.
Oh, sorry, the 18th then, November, is that what you said?
So November
Yes.
18th. And October 21st. And I'll double check that the meeting room is available. For dates. It is. All right, with that. Good discussions today, and I think it's good that we have. Some good engagements, and we worked out some things. Any other items, business to discuss? Otherwise, want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn meeting.
Second.
All all in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Melanie, I'll email you the.
That's the email address from the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.